Last weekend, Manchester United got themselves a pretty decent point in the 0-0 draw against Liverpool at Anfield. In that game, I thought for large periods Manchester United defended pretty well. However, this weekend against West Ham, they're going to face some different challenges. So let's head straight over to the tactical board to discuss what some of those challenges might be. Now, you will see the shape that I've got Manchester United in and the starting 11 I've gone for. This isn't necessarily what I would do. It is what I think Erik ten Hag will go for, and that is what this preview is going to be all about. Rather than what the teams should do, what I actually think will happen. So what will happen? Well, initially, Manchester United will look to play the ball out from the back. I'm quite confident that we will see that in this game. Because if United choose this game to go long in, Alvarez, Souček, Zuma, Aguerd are going to head that ball back all day long. So United need to be patient at the back and try and work the ball through the defence. Will West Ham try and stop this? Sometimes, although perhaps not that effectively. For example, in midweek they often pressed in more of a 4-4-2 shape like this against Liverpool. What Liverpool done really well in that game was they used Endo as their singular pivot quite deep, which kept these two forwards narrow, which meant that quite easily you could play out to the centre-backs and they could step down the side of the West Ham front too. So West Ham could use that structure if it is the case, and if they do it so poorly again, United should be fine. There's also a chance that West Ham press in more of a 4-3-3 shape, with Paqueta, Kudus and Jared Bowen becoming really narrow, really central to try and apply pressure to the ball. The issue here for West Ham when they do this is they're only pressing with three players. Ward-Prowse will sometimes back it up a little bit, but what we can see is that, again, Manchester United should have superior numbers here, particularly with the ball-playing ability of Onana being that spare man and creating that overload in this deeper phase. There might even be spells where he can step between the two centre-backs. I think for United, and when I say United, I mean Manchester United, I think they should have too much in the first phase. I know we aren't the best team in the world in this area, but West Ham, they kind of push these bodies forward, but they don't press with a great intensity, really. There's no real aggression in the way that they apply pressure. Certainly not typically. It might change in this game, but normally they don't press with that much intensity. So I think United should be able to play their way out from the back. As a result, there is potential for this to actually be a game where United control the ball and have a lot of possession, due to being able to get out in the first phase. So the question is, what is the next challenge? We've played through the first phase of the pitch. Now we are in sustained controlled possession. How can we hurt West Ham? Well, again, it isn't easy because West Ham are extremely narrow and compact in a 4-3-3 shape. Souček, Alvarez and James Ward-Prowse will all be within touching distance of each other. They're all super compact. But again, this front three is incredibly narrow. You know, they're not giving you too many spaces at all in these central areas. Now, normally when an opposition is building with a front three, you might suggest maybe dropping an extra man into the defence to try and help play out from the back. But again, the important thing here is that West Ham may have three players, but they're not particularly intense. You can see the theme a little bit here, that they're not too interested in trying to steal yards up the pitch and try and nick the ball off you. Again, it might be different in this game, but certainly typically this season, and certainly in recent weeks, they're not that keen on squeezing high and winning the ball back high up the pitch. And with this front three being reasonably high but actually quite passive, again it gives United the potential to outplay them, simply because United have 5 players in this phase, on the first line here, up against just 3 players for West Ham. So let's say someone like Wan-Bissaka was to have the ball, Paqueta comes across, perhaps Bowen does the same. Kudus at times is going to be picking up 3 players in here, which just isn't really doable. So United, again, should be able to work the ball through this phase. Now, there is the chance that Ward-Prowse at times is more aggressive and comes out like this, but again, it does still leave that far side fullback. This is a game where it would have been particularly handy to have Dalot. His passing ability to switch to play would have been quite useful. But regardless, I think United will actually find it pretty easy, even in this phase, to control the ball. So in terms of what shape United should use, they'll probably be alright with a 2-3 shape. I still don't think it's optimal, but I think it's probably what Erik ten Hag will go for. And it should just about see that they are okay in possession. Now, the concern I have from here is that we see what we see a lot of weeks with United, and that is that McTominay then pushes really high, and Bruno Fernandes does the same. And with West Ham being really compact in the middle here, again, 6 really narrow players, I think United might find it hard to go through the centre of the pitch in this game. Because, first of all, United are bad at doing that. Rafael Varane, for example, isn't the best progressive passer through the lines, neither is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Down the left-hand side, we've got a bit more ball-playing quality, but Kobbie Mainoo being a solo pivot rather than a double pivot could leave him a little bit isolated at times and struggling to really dominate the game. We'll have to see. But the issue mainly is that Bruno Fernandes is high, McTominay is high, but Højlund isn't really this sort of striker which drops in and links the play. So this might be the concern for United, that they play the ball through the first and the second phase, but as they then look to really progress and be expressive and creative, they might find themselves with a lack of options on the ball. However, there is one way you can hurt this West Ham side, even with this lack of options in the middle, and that is to simply play outside of the West Ham structure. And I think this is why Bruno Fernandes could be particularly useful in this game, but also Luke Shaw. Those two could be two of the most important players. Now, will Fernandes play this side or this side? We're not too sure at the moment. But West Ham, because they are focused on keeping the centre of the pitch, again, really compact, you're not coming through the middle here. What they will do is they'll let you have that bit of space out wide, and this is where United are at their strongest. That combination of Luke Shaw, Bruno Fernandes and Marcus Rashford is one which, on form, can be deadly, which is why I think we might see Marcus Rashford returning to the starting 11. These three playing outside of the West Ham block, outside of that West Ham shape, getting into areas like this, could be really, really dangerous. And West Ham do invite crosses into their box a little bit. Now, the reason they do that is because 9 times out of 10, they're actually quite confident that they can win the header. For example, even Edson Alvarez at times will drop into a back five to head the ball away. But I think what we're looking for here is the potential of, again, McTominay box crashing. I know we all get frustrated by it, but I wouldn't be surprised if Ten Hag uses it in this game. Højlund making the initial run to kind of take someone with him, opening up the space for Scott McTominay for that cross then from the left-hand side, either from Bruno Fernandes or Luke Shaw, who again, I think will be key in this game. This left half space here, crossing into the box, that could be a dangerous weapon for United. So before we continue into the video, a quick shout out to today's video sponsor, JerseyFifa.com, the home of all of the greatest football kits. Whether that be the new latest releases or the old classic ones like this, Jersey FIFA has something for everyone, and now you can check it out yourself using the link in the description down below. And also make sure to use code JerseyFifa for 10% off when you order. In terms of attacking down the other side of the pitch, it won't be as straightforward, simply because the players aren't as technically gifted. Anthony doesn't have the power to beat a fullback in the way that Rashford does on the other side. Wan-Bissaka doesn't have the passing or the crossing of Shaw, and McTominay doesn't want to drop deep and get on the ball and create. So United might have a few more difficulties down this side. However, what this side of the pitch will do is keep things fairly simple, and that actually might work quite nicely. For example, I think we'll just see quite simple, quite basic passing triangles, but this could work really well. For example, Wan-Bissaka can quite comfortably go to someone like Anthony. If he then follows his run, as the ball goes inside to Scott McTominay, you can then play around. You can hurt West Ham in that way, particularly with Edson Alvarez playing on the left-hand side of the midfield three, because he has this tendency, or not even a tendency, he just at times gets caught on whether he should go and apply pressure in here, or whether he should be dropping off into the box to form a back five, or whether he should be cutting the pass lane to the striker. At times, his tactical structure looks a little bit confused. So I think United might be able to take advantage of that in this little space here with McTominay. If his passing can be crisp and clean when he does get on the ball, again, acting almost as a wall pass option. We saw that little combination against Liverpool last weekend. This sort of move where you use the third man run from deep to get into these positions, that's definitely something that United could do. In terms of creating in the final third, again, it probably comes down more to patterns which the manager puts in place, which we don't know too much about, but also individual brilliance. A Marcus Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, Rasmus Højlund, even Scott McTominay. These are players which can produce something from nothing, and at times I think it will be needed, because West Ham aren't easy to beat. Again, they're happy to drop into a back five, they'll get lots of players behind the ball, and make it incredibly difficult to break them down. However, if the United players are smart on the ball, which is perhaps a big if, but having Kobbie Mainoo kind of controlling tempo, I think he could be a player which really helps United in this game. Because what he has the ability to do is sometimes pass backwards. And what that does is it just tempts West Ham out a little bit. That's when you can start to open up spaces in here as they get caught between structures and formations. Alvarez is still at centre-back, but Ward-Prowse has started to move into his higher position again. That's when you can catch them out. So it'll be interesting to see how United approach the game from an in-possession point of view. But realistically, if the players are on form and play well, they should have enough. And the same is the case from a defensive point of view as well. In possession, to me, West Ham look like a team which are a little bit confused tactically, and certain things don't quite add up. For example, 9 times out of 10, they will go long from the goalkeeper. There's a chance they play it short to the centre-back, but again, 9 times out of 10, it will go back to the goalkeeper, and then the ball will go long. Which isn't surprising, it's a David Moyes side, we've seen that in the past. What is a little bit confusing though about this idea is that if they go long, you actually look at the height of that front four for West Ham. Kudus, Ward-Prowse, Paqueta, Jared Bowen. None of them are big physical presences, you know. A David Moyes side has always had a Fellaini or an Antonio, for example, at West Ham. They lack the physical profiles and the big tall guys to knock the ball onto. So United could dominate in this way, particularly if we drop McTominay deeper when they have the ball, rather than pushing him high. If we drop him into a double pivot, heading these balls away should be quite comfortable for United. Again, should. I'm not saying it definitely will be, but realistically on paper, you would expect United to win most of these battles. Now, there's a chance at times Edson Alvarez swaps with Ward-Prowse to try and help with this, help with the long ball. But again, the issue when West Ham do that is if he loses the header, then they do leave gaps where Edson Alvarez once was, and now you can transition and hurt them, which is again why we're looking at someone like Marcus Rashford playing, Rasmus Højlund being direct, straight at the West Ham defence. It's something which United could use. Now, of course, let's not completely write West Ham off. Defensively, like I've said already, they will be compact, they will be difficult to break down. And at the other end of the pitch, when they can string moves together, there's real quality here. Jared Bowen, Paqueta, Kudus are all players which should be playing for a top 6 club in the Premier League. I genuinely believe they're that good, all three of them. Absolutely brilliant footballs, incredibly technical. They love the ball at their feet, they love to dribble, they love to carry the ball, and they can all strike the ball incredibly well. So it's very, very possible that West Ham just have a moment out of absolutely nowhere where they're able to create in the final third, and one of these players will take their chances. They're very good finishers. They're very good in the final third. So that will be an issue for Manchester United. Another issue will be the fact that Kufal does like to join the attack. He does like to overlap. And this is where we might see that game between Rashford and Kufal. Does Rashford track him back to reduce his threat? Or does he stay high, leaving Kufal to go forward, but knowing that if United win the ball back, we can now quickly counter-attack with Marcus Rashford into that space. Again, it's something which will be interesting to see in this game. But overall, that is how I think this football match is going to play out. Those are some of the tactical little ploys I think we'll see in the game, certain areas which both teams might look to target, take advantage of, etc. in the game. But in terms of actually a tactical preview for today, we are finished there. If you want to talk about this more in depth, make sure to tune into the live stream this afternoon. We will be going live at 1 PM UK time. So figure out what time that is for you. We will be live on the channel discussing this in more depth, doing predictions, picking our starting 11, and we've also got a bit of a Christmas quiz at the end, but still Manchester United themed. Pretty cool, huh? So make sure to join that stream this afternoon. Apart from that, we are finished for today's video. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you have enjoyed it. And as always, I'll see you in the next one.